Ladies and gentlemen, cybersecurity in Europe. It's something that also depends on the cybersecurity of the sector. Poland has much to boast when it comes to the technology potential of its cybersecurity market. It is therefore my pleasure to invite to the stage Mr. Robert Siudak, President of the Polish Cybersecurity Cluster, Cyber Made in Poland, who will present the upcoming report on cybersecurity in the private sector. Robert, may I invite you to the stage?
Today I'm going to be presenting you kind of a sneak peek of the report that we're going to be publishing in less than 2 weeks. Cyberbezpieczeństwo polskich firm 2021, Cybersecurity of Polish companies of private sector in Poland 2021. As I mentioned, and I will repeat it in the end, you can already find a place on our website to sign up for the report, which we will be publishing in less than 2 weeks. But let's start with this. If we are attending cybersecurity conferences, when we reading newspapers, when we speaking with our friends, we are commonly speaking about those two facts, myths, those two theories, let's say this way. The first one is that the scale and dynamics of the cybersecurity threats is rapidly accelerating, day by day, year by year. The second one is that cybersecurity budgets are not big enough. Whether we speak about private companies, organizations, public sector, it's still the same. And I have a question to our audience today now here. Who thinks that the first one, that the scale and dynamics of cyber threats are rapidly accelerating, is fact? Please raise your hand. I see most of you agree with this theory, let's say this way. And who thinks that cybersecurity budgets are not big enough in companies and organizations? Okay, less than 50%, I think. Okay. During my presentation, I will show you that we ourselves are asking the same questions, whether it's a fact or myth, the first and the second one. And to answer those questions, we did the research. We did a survey in Polish companies, in Polish organizations, to find out whether it's true or not. When I say, when it comes to the research itself, it was more than 160 respondents, CEOs, COOs, CISOs, directors, more than 18 partnering companies from Cyber Made in Poland. And in the end, we gathered 12 chapters, writing about, to be honest, most of the cybersecurity topics, from cybersecurity strategy in organization, ending up on execution and technical solutions that those companies are using. But when I say, importantly, we also cooperated with Computer World in this research. So we do have not only the cybersecurity industry, but also the IT industry as a part of this research. When I say we, who is asking these questions? I mean Polish Cybersecurity Cluster, Cyber Made in Poland, currently organization representing Polish cybersecurity industry, 47 companies, innovative startups, scale-ups, but also SMEs and big companies. If you ask me what we are doing, almost everything, you name it, when it comes to cybersecurity market, from anti-malware to managed services, the mobile security. That's what we are doing in Cyber Made in Poland. And that's why these questions that I raised are important for us, because that's the questions that we have to answer before we will speak with our clients, before we will speak with our partners, before we will speak with the public sector. Okay, let's start with the first one. The scale and the dynamics of cybersecurity threats is rapidly accelerating. What the research shows. Interestingly enough, when we ask companies about this, only 33% of them mention that they have been a victim of security breach during the last 12 months. The question is, first and foremost, whether they are aware if they've been hacked. Of course, we know that there are no cybersecurity companies, there are only companies that don't know that they have been hacked. But the second question is also, even if they know, do they share this information publicly? Do they share this information with partners, clients, with us as researchers. So still, this result, of course, needs to go deeper. And the question was, what kind of cybersecurity incident or security incident they've been facing. And for many on this audience, even in this region and in Poland, it's not surprising that the ransomware was on the top, so 45% of incidents. And when it comes to the second category of incidents, it was kind of breaking the perimeters of the network in the company, so being inside the company. Let's now move to the second theory. Let's speak about budgets, about cybersecurity budgets. The research shows, and I will try to explain it a little bit better in a second, that it's not the budget that is scarce, it's the education, the awareness, the understanding of the role of cybersecurity in your business process. That is the case, that is the problem, that is the point where we should start. So, just to show you this on specific example, 85% of surveyed companies mentioned that if they will have to rate important or essential part of their cybersecurity actions, it will be backups and antivirus software. So that's, in their understanding, that's important action to be taken in order to be secure. And surprisingly enough, when you ask them about cybersecurity budget, what is there? There are backups and there are antiviruses. What this shows us is that it's not about the money itself, because even if you will double your revenue in next year, if you're not going to understand that you need to take specific actions to secure your company, you will not find the money for that. And even if the budget is scarce on the other side, and you understand that you need to do this and this, you will find a budget for that. Going a little bit further in this budget and kind of education or awareness issue, we asked companies to do the rating of cybersecurity solutions from their perspective. What is important? What is helping them to be secure? And as we mentioned, backups and antiviruses on the top, but also access management, procedures, encryption, and data loss prevention. If you compare this to the budget priorities, this is the full information here. Apart from education and training, we will go back in a second to this. There is antivirus backup, mailbox security, and data encryption. And going back to education, interestingly enough, smaller and medium companies more often or in bigger scale mention that education and training is part of their budget, is important and core part of their budget. Of course, there is a question whether it's because it's a scarce of resources one more time, so the budget is smaller for IT security, so let's focus on specific issue like education. Or maybe the owners of the companies think that their employees needs to be more aware, and the bigger corporates, bigger companies already have educated people. Now, before I move further, we also asked them about kind of a cybersecurity toolbox. So what they are using in Poland, in organizations and companies, to secure their activities. In short, there have been 4 categories that I will a little bit present now: products, procedures and policies, standards and norms, and audits. So different categories of actions, from buying products and services to enacting specific actions or being in line with standards and norms. Let's start with products. As we already mentioned, 2 on the top, antivirus backup, but also important role of the end points of the network, whether you speak about mobile phones, laptops, or other parts of the network. We know that the perimeters of the network are changing, and also we see this now in 2021 that the companies are more and more aware of this change. Let's move to procedures and policies. Generally, there will be, for my presentation today, I will show you that there are 3 main categories of procedures and policies that you might include in a company. This one focuses on business continuity, this one focuses on access management, and this one focuses on private information, GDPR connected policies. And if you will ask me which one is the most important for companies, you see the answer here. Business continuity, unfortunately, especially, for example, business impact analysis, only with 41% of companies enacting this kind of policies and procedures, having them in place. On the other spectrum, we have GDPR policies. Almost all of the companies have them in place. This is a part of their business model. To support them in the cybersecurity effort, of course, they might use standard and the norms. And for a lot of people in the audience, it will not be a surprising information that ISO 27001 is the most commonly used one in the companies in Poland, with other ISO as well. Last but not least, we've been, to be honest, at least for me, I've been a little bit surprised how many of our research companies are trusting by controlling, are verifying the cybersecurity in their companies. So almost 90% companies mentioned that they've been using some kind of a pen testing for their network. Of course, then we also run a kind of open panel with our companies asking, whoa, that's really surprising results. How come? You as a pen testing companies, our partners of our cluster, members of our cluster, do you think that's true? And the answer was, or the conclusion of the panel was that it might be that they run pen testing, but in many cases, it's not the high level of the service that they get. And in many cases, it might be something which we call pen testing on a piece of paper, rather than really in the organization. To summarize my presentation and to summarize a little bit lessons learned from our research, what I see in this research is that there are 3 actions needs to be taken. And the first one, of course, is educate. As I mentioned, it's important to educate not because we need to educate because people need to know. We need to educate because this, in fact, changes the behavior of companies. As we've seen on many cases, if there is awareness of specific issue, if the owner understands that cybersecurity is a part of his business process, it's a problem for him, for CEO, director, CIO, not for the IT department on the 3rd floor of his company, then he will find the budget, he will find the time, he will find the opportunity to invest in cybersecurity. That's why you need education. Regulation, and you need to regulate. Why? We've seen specifically on this, I show you the results when it comes to procedures and policies. Of course, GDPR is one of the greatest examples. On the other hand, we have this business processes policies not enacted in almost less than, not used in more than half of our surveyed companies. So the regulation is important incentive for companies. And it's nothing new, it's nothing surprising, but we need to stress this. And last but not least, speaking about this first theory, this first fact or myth that I mentioned, I called it keep calm and invest. Why? Because keep calm, of course, the cyber threats are rapidly evolving. But it's not that everyone is at the same level threatened by everything. If you are a company, if you're an organization, first and foremost, do the first step, do it calm, do it really in a manner that will say something to your organization, first to understand your position on the market, to understand your sector, to understand the threats that you might face now in the future in 1, 5, 10 years. That's why keep calm. So it's not about reading 100 articles about new ransomware or new malware. It's about understanding the role and the framework of your current business process. And only based on that, you can start investing. Only based on that, you might accommodate budgets into specific actions on cybersecurity. We spoke yesterday during the opening cocktail about this specific problem. So it's not about millions of monies, millions of euros, dollars, or Polish zlotys invest in anything if you don't understand why you do this, what is your threat landscape, what is your risk tolerance what is your risk management procedure, and so on and so on. First, do this, keep calm, do this analysis, understand your business, understand that cybersecurity, it's part of it, and then invest. To find more, you can already go to our website, cybermadeinpoland.pl, and subscribe for the report, which in 2 weeks will be published officially. Thank you very much for today, and hope to see all of you during the next 2 days. Thank you very much.